Music, since I started, has been such a big part of my life in my friends and my summer, and all of the experiences that I've had have really shaped me as a person.
It's made a pretty big impact on my life, considering I don't know where I'd be without it. It's definitely something that I go to for support, and I love it.
What I really like about music is how it's so different than everything else we do in school on a regular basis. It's not sort of reading and writing and discussing, but it's like playing all together and putting different talents together and making something that's really, really exciting and different.
Coming up tonight on Student News, we take a closer look at the importance of the arts in schools and get student as well as expert opinions on what music, dance, and visual arts can do for students.
As we are all well aware, the Great Recession, beginning in 2008, caused the greatest collapse in state revenues on record, and the damage done to the economy from this recession is far from healed. Best case scenario, relying on strong economic growth next year, institutions will finally return to pre-recession budget levels in 2013. And it is educators who have felt the brunt of this damage. An estimated 294,000 jobs, including many in higher education, have been lost in the education sector since 2008, and elementary and high schools are receiving less state funding in the 2012-2013 school year than they did last year in 26 states, while in 35 states, school funding lies beneath 2008 levels.
Schools nationwide have been forced to cut PE classes and languages for underclassmen, eliminate programs for struggling readers, and reduce library hours. However, art programs are perhaps more seriously threatened than any others. It's Monday, January 14th, and Student News starts right now.
Conflict has been prevalent, dating back to before the recession, over whether art programs are as beneficial to student growth as, say, math or science.
In May of 2011, the President's Committee on Arts and Humanities encouraged educators to reinvest in their arts programs after conducting a report based on the summaries of high school arts programs in the U.S., encouraging arts education in diverse formats and in low-income schools. In February, President Obama, concerned about the well-being of the arts in schools across the nation, announced his plans for a 5% increase in arts spending in his 2013 budget, including a 5.5% increase for the National Endowment for the Arts and Humanities. In his speech at the 2011 National Medal of Arts and National Humanities ceremonies, the President stated, quote, "The arts and humanities do not just reflect America, they shape America. And as long as I am President, I look forward to making sure they are a priority for this country."
Though the President's apparent investment in the arts is encouraging, it still does not ensure safety for the arts programs so dear to many students nationwide. According to a May 2005 poll by Americans for the Arts, 93% of Americans agree that the arts are vital to a well-rounded education, a 2% increase since 2001. The poll also found that 83% of Americans believe that an arts education improves a child's attitudes towards school. 83% believe that the arts help children communicate effectively. 54% rated the arts a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of its importance in public education. And 79% believe the arts are important enough for them to get personally involved in helping the arts succeed. We interviewed student artists of the Pioneer Valley to get their take on the importance of the arts. Take a look.
Music is really important to me. I've been playing the violin since I was 6, and it's a really big part of who I am. It's like helped me make choices and build myself to be who I am today and have the values that I have.
Music means a lot to me because like all of my friends are in music and I want to go into music education. So it's like a big part of my life and I love it so much, and I've met so many amazing people and done so many amazing things through music.
My dad's a trumpet player, so I mean I've been exposed to music all my life. Ever since I was very, very young, I was always singing along to tunes in the car and the radio, so my dad knew I had a musical gift right away and started me on trumpet, 5th grade, and I've been playing that ever since.
For me, music has always been my stress relief. I know a lot of my friends go running when they get really antsy or they just can't focus anymore, you know, they run or they work out or something, and I always play music. So I'll sit down at the piano or just whip out my flute and just start playing.
Well, I think music is a way to get away from all of the stress that school gives you. Being a senior in high school, there's a lot of stress that comes from like college applications and testing that's still going on from academics and stuff like that. But come like the period of like performing arts, whatever you have, it's like, you know, it's a way to just relax and play music and sort of get away from all the stress that school has.
Participating in the band or in any arts program really is hugely important. Just surrounding people as human beings and citizens.
Yeah, and it's also nice like a way to switch gears from like your math and your English classes to be able to go play an instrument or any kind of thing like that. And it's good that there's a lot of that in Hopkins because like every kid gets the chance to try it and see what interests them.
Prominent in our school. Most everybody is involved in some way, whether it's singing or instrumental or, you know, visual art or anything like that, but it's pretty prominent in our school.
It's really prominent. It's like every student does like either acting, singing, dancing. Like our school musical, 10% of our students do the musical, whether it's tech or on stage.
Yeah. Like everybody, it's all about performing arts, I guess. It's like if whether, like Richard said, it's like the musical is like the biggest thing ever, and like you talk to like everybody in the hallway and it's like, yo, you going to the musical? It's like, no man, I'm in it. It's like, oh wow, cool, what do you do? It's like, oh, I'm like a techie. It's like, oh cool. So like you'd be surprised about like who does what, like performing arts.
In my school, the arts are very prominent. Like everyone is in band. And we're like one big happy band family. And at our school, it's like if you're not in band, then you're like different. But the arts are very, very prominent. Like we're all about band in our school. We don't have a string program, and we have a smaller chorus program, but we have like 200 kids in band.
The programs at Hopkins for music is concert band, and we do a marching band, which is kind of part of the concert band. And there's also a jazz band, which is invitation.
Plus we have the pep band and the choruses.
At Hartsbrook, we sing all the time. Every single morning, we meet together in the big foyer and we do the morning announcements, and then we sing songs together to kind of group ourselves. And then we'll go to the class, and then individual classes will probably sing songs, and people will sing in the halls. And then we have chorus class like 4 times a week. And, and then in addition, we have music. And you can do jazz or orchestra or whatever you want.
They're not really stressed at our school. Yeah, we had an orchestra that just started this year, and it's just really just strings learning how to play.
Science and math is really straightforward and cutthroat, but art and music really fuels the soul. It makes you who you are as a person, versus math, there's no, except for a few of them, there's really no place for you to interpret your findings, versus when you do music or art, you really have a chance to create your own experience at a very young age.
I think that it's equally as important as science and math. It helps you like explore yourself, whereas in math and science, they teach you how to learn, whereas you can learn the way you want to through music.
Well, you can apply math and all of those things to music. And music is, I think it's the most intimate art form, because it gets a lot more emotion you get a lot more emotion in a minute of music than you do than, I guess, a minute of looking at a picture. I don't know.
Athletes in normal schools, I guess you could say, athletes don't really do performing arts.
Oh, shut up, Richard.
But in our school, like, so many athletes do performing arts. It's really amazing.
This
guy. People are surprised that. What do you play, Curtis?
I play the cello.
Yeah, people are surprised about that.
My entire afternoon is taken up by 2 separate music classes, and then during the fall I would go straight outside to the field and play soccer with a bunch of the kids that I just played in band with, and that's kind of like a unique part about Hopkins and our music program, is that everybody kind of does everything at Hopkins. So you're with your friends and you're with people you know no matter what you're doing, and everybody's doing everything. So
I think it also helps when the band program is such a large part of the school, because it's like you don't have to sacrifice taking other classes for band. Like literally all the other classes plan around high school kids can't do anything last period of day ones because you have band.
It's been that way for 32 years.
So you can always keep your head on right.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When can I start school? Can I start today?
Oh, no, I don't think so. You're not ready yet.
Please?
No. Now sit down and eat your breakfast like a good little boy. I have to finish you before you go anywhere. You've already smudged up the paint from your bench last night, I see. Go on then, go to school. It'll be good to have you out of my way. Go on then, bye, bye.
Ciao, Bobo.
I also act as well. Acting allows me to like express myself in a different medium, because I also play the violin, and it's just like an amazing experience being on stage, and you get to be a different character. Like people normally in school, they see me as this either weird, crazy problem child, or I'm like sometimes really shy if like none of my group of friends are there, but on stage I can do basically whatever I want, and it's normal. And normal is boring, so
normal is boring.
Yeah, like acting.
Weird is exciting.
High school is a kind of magical time because students that are in high school tend to be hitting this point where their ability to think abstractly and grapple with big concepts and their desire to make sense of the world is really huge, and they have a tremendous capacity to do so. They're also at the same time unburdened by a lot of bad experiences or biases that come in just from working over time. So they're very open to innovation, not worrying so much about precedent. They're very capable of creating. They're still close enough to their younger childhood that they can really access that in a way that a lot of adults fail to do. So I think it's a magical kind of era where you can create a lot, but you can still do it in a very mature and analytic way, and that's kind of a beautiful combination.
I really love teaching high school students. They're very willing to try different techniques, different ways of standing, different configurations to get the best music possible. And they're willing to put it all out there, which is very surprising, because you wouldn't think that high school students would be able to get out of themselves enough, but in a safe environment, and they're really willing to take a chance and try and make really great music, and they do.
Well, I love teaching old people, but I would say that this age group, which I've settled in the past 12 years, is fantastic because it's really it's young adulthood. So it's like old childhood, young adulthood, and it's that place where it starts to really matter. So things start to come together, and the vision of one's sort of life purpose starts to take form. So it's really nice to be a part of that.
We devote a whole wing. We have lots of differentiated space, an auditorium, a dance studio, black box theater, a band room, a choral room. So given the kinds of differentiated space we have, we're in a position to offer a wide range of opportunities for students. And we've also managed to build it into the program of study so it happens in the course of the day. So it's not an afterthought. It's part of the infrastructure. It's part of the daily schedule. And I think it's not surprising that if you watch the calendar of the high school, very little time goes by where there's not some ensemble performing. And so I think by all measures, it's a very well-established, high-profile part of the high school offering. In one way, it's useful to think about the performing arts in the same way you would think about athletics, clubs, academic courses, that they provide students with a level of challenge where students get a chance to test themselves, push their sense of their own boundaries, expand their sense of their own capacity. And in that sense, the arts are a developmental engine. They bring people to places where they didn't think they perhaps could get before. So I like having a school that's filled with multiple opportunities for people to challenge themselves in multiple ways. I think if you turn specifically to the arts, putting kids in the position where they can not just replicate other art that someone else has made, but create their own, that's also a distinctive feature. If you go into the dance class, you don't dance dances that have been choreographed by the teacher. You have an opportunity to choreograph your own dance. And student writtens is another example of the ways in which students get practice at being artists. And the creation of art has value for both individuals who make it and for the society at large. I think it's also, it makes for I don't know the exact adjective I want to use, but having a steady diet of performances, like we are privileged to have, makes for a very humanized environment. It's hard not to go to the concert and come out with a ragged edge or a jagged edge. So it's hard not to see a theatrical performance and not feel transported to someplace new. So in that sense, I think it's useful for the community.
I believe the arts are incredibly important. In many ways, when I was a student in high school, I really felt like I was going to school for my band and chorus classes, my music theory classes. The musical, the plays that we did, it keeps students connected to a community that is supportive and fun and creative and artistic, and it also gives them an outlet that they don't necessarily get in math class or social studies class, that they can show a piece of themselves in a different light.
I think they're extremely important. There's any number of reasons you could make why that is. You could make two different arguments essentially. One would be a kind of skills-based argument. What do the arts do to help a student grow and achieve certain skill sets that help them succeed in college and beyond? And there's plenty of evidence for that there. But I think we all know that there's something that the arts do far beyond that, that I would say is also even more important, which is helping someone develop as a human. And I think there are a few disciplines that do both those things as well as the arts do.
I get comments all the time from other teachers where we have common students. And the students are jazzed about whether it's a dance project or a music project or a vocal project or a theater performance. They're talking about it with teachers that they're close to and teachers that they're inspired by. And then the teacher talks to me and says, I was talking to Zoe, she's really excited about this upcoming concert, are you going? You know what I mean? So it starts to sort of network like that. And I also think that teachers recognize that students are really happy when they're able to do their thing, whatever their thing is, and they're pushing the envelope on their crafts, whether the craft is music or vocal, whatever, they're pushing the envelope and they feel good about themselves. And it shows when they walk into any classroom. And then they're like, are you coming to my concert this weekend? Because I'm really excited about it. So I think that's how the word gets out.
It's hard because Amherst is such an art-rich area. So we get a lot of concerts and community ensembles and shows, and so there's a lot of competition out there. But I think that when people from the community come into the school, they recognize that it's a fantastic program here in the arts for music, theater, dance, all of it, and that they realize that it's on level with the community productions.
It's worth clarifying at the outset of the budget conversation is that if the school committee reached the point where they felt like they needed to reduce the number of ensembles at the high school, that can't be construed as the lack of support of the arts, right? Because when dollars are finite and there are lots of competing interests, not everybody gets what they want, right? And so there are fewer science classes, fewer English offerings, fewer social studies offerings, and it would be fair just to put the arts in that same category. So having said that, it's worth noting that we've weathered any number of budget crises over the last 7 years, and the number of ensembles haven't decreased. So if there are people who are watching this who are wondering how deep does the commitment to the arts run, I think that's Exhibit A, that we've been in very difficult straits, cut and reduced ourselves on a number of fronts. And to date, the ensembles have survived. And right now, when I say the arts, what's interesting to me is the number of places that kids get to perform. Right. So and interestingly, we added one this year because steel drums performed this year, and steel drums had never been thought of as an ensemble. It was just a class. So I don't think we're out of the woods financially. I think there'll be other kinds of pressures that come along that raise the same kinds of questions. But in general, I think the arts are a value that people bend over backwards to make sure is adequately funded.
I get the sense that Amherst really values the arts a lot, especially the performing arts. I know certainly on the adult and the administration are avid supporters of it, and that's something that's easy to take for granted, but there's any number of schools where the arts simply aren't a priority, and you can really see the difference in those schools. I'd say as far as the students go, certainly not every student is engaged in the arts here. I think that should be a school goal. If I could advocate for some of the school goals I would selfishly want. I would say that every student should have a rich and very positive opportunity to get involved in the arts here. But that said, I think a lot of our students are obviously involved in the arts. A lot of them not only excel in them and find pathways into them in their adult lives, be it professionally or personally. Certainly any number of people that do the arts here are clearly affected and altered by their time working together with other people in these disciplines. So I think it's a very important thing here at school.
I think that the performances here at Amherst Regional High School do affect the community and affect adults. I have adults constantly coming up to me asking me, oh, do you have an outside choir? Or I wish I could sing in your ensembles, or I wish I could play in our orchestra. And I think that makes those people go and reach out to try and find an ensemble in the community that they can play with. And when you think about the education of students in a high school, I mean, we're not preparing people to become performers on Broadway or to necessarily go out and be in a professional orchestra. On the other hand, we're teaching them to be lifelong advocates for the arts, lifelong concert goers, and maybe even lifelong actors. You act in many ways, and whether you take an acting class to become an actor, or you become a CEO of a board of directors, or you learn how to speak in front of a crowd, it's all very important. And an experience in the arts is going to make your life better no matter what career path you decide to go.
It's really important. I love music. It's my life. Music's the best. Do it. Yay.
As you can see, the arts have been extremely vital in the development and growth of today's youth. Students across the Pioneer Valley have come together to speak out in support of the arts in their schools. It's clear that the arts take on very different shapes depending on specific school settings. The small community of Hopkins lends itself well to strong, united ensembles, while at Amherst Regional, there are a wide array of choices for students and ensembles in which they can participate. Regardless, the importance of these programs to the students themselves is the one constant, no matter where you look and who you talk to. Though we consider the Amherst Pelham School District to be strong in the arts, and surrounding Pioneer Valley towns also have thriving arts programs, cuts are still relevant to our district. Local elementary schools have already been forced to move the starting age for music lessons back 1 year, giving students less of an opportunity to ground themselves in the arts at an early age. And as a result of this, Amherst Regional High School students can say that our arts programs have suffered, and will continue to do so unless students, like the ones you've heard from tonight, stand up and speak out for their belief in the importance of the arts.
Dr. Kenneth Lisk of the Katy Independent School District in Katy, Texas, named by a nationwide survey one of the best communities for music education, says of his arts program, quote, "The success of students and the vitality of a community depend on school curricular decisions which place diverse, progressive educational opportunities above the limited focus that too often results from over-testing and underfunding. The state of arts education in any community often reflects its commitment to complete educational opportunity and demonstrates the quality of life to which its citizens aspire." And that's all for tonight, folks. To learn more about student news, please like us on Facebook. Until then, I'm Isabel Jackson.
And I'm Jamin Olmstead. Good night.